If you'd like to know exactly how to sell Medicare Advantage plans, Medigap, or Medicare supplements, then guys, this video is absolutely for you. But first, we're going to address two really important things. Well, the first thing, which clients should get Medicare Advantage prescription drug plans? In other words, which clients are better suited for that versus which clients are better suited for the supplements. Number two, cross-selling. Why you should absolutely be selling Medicare Advantage and Medicare supplements too if you're an existing life insurance agent. And guys, there's two items that I'm going to give you and show you how to get at the end of this video. If you're going to sell Medicare Advantage, you're absolutely going to want to use them. They both go perfectly hand in hand with this video. The first one is the Medicare enrollment cheat sheet, and the second is the Medigap comparison chart. Guys, again, stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to show you how to get both of these for yourself. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe. Guys, we're all about insurance sales content. So what clients are better off with Medicare Advantage and which clients are better off with those Medicare supplements? Guys, in my opinion, and what I see the most, really, and this is based on years and years of insurance sales experience, folks that are on a really low income that's fixed are really more likely to be better off with a Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan. Understand there's all kinds of incentives that come with those plans that they can't get with regular Medicare. So we're talking like zero premiums, first of all, on the plans, dental, vision, there's certain incentives like maybe hearing also, or even give backs where they get a certain amount of money back. So to me, if you're on a low income, you don't have much money going in, and you really can't afford to put more money out up front, these plans are really ideal for those type of folks. And that's why most people in that situation do end up with Medicare Advantage plans. Now, let's talk about a more middle class, upper class type of person, someone, who's got extra money. To me, you are so much better off getting a Medicare supplement. And really, the thing is, maybe like the Plan G, for example. So guys, it really is all about income, financial scenario of the client. So on the other hand, if you're speaking with a client who's maybe like, more middle class or even upper class, they've got the money, they are definitely better off with a Medicare supplement plan, maybe like a popular one like the Plan G is the ones that are usually being sold around the country. They basically are $150 monthly extra out of pocket. And that's a big difference between MAPD. Medicare Advantage, in most cases, the upfront cost, there is none. You can get these zero premium plans for Medicare Advantage, and that's why people go with that. So now they're going to have to pay co-pays, right? They're going to have to pay other little costs, but it's not like they're locked into a certain cost, $150 every single month. So with the Medicare supplements, they are. But here's, to me, like a couple of reasons why you're better off really with a supplement no matter what. First of all, there's more doctors available. The one thing about Medicare Advantage plans is, like, if I'm selling a client a Medicare Advantage, I have to verify that the doctor that they want to go to, especially if they insist on seeing a certain doctor, is actually available in those plans, in that plan that I'm selling them. So in many cases, that's not the case. So, it's kind of the thing, if you want to eat your cake, you're not going to be able to eat it too. And the clients, you got to get them to grasp the reality as to where really the bottom line is, when you've got a Medicare supplement, you can go to any Medicare doctor. Any doctor that accepts Medicare, bam, you can go to them. And so another important detail about these two plans is the long-term cost. So with Medicare Advantage, your client could potentially end up owing thousands later. So there's a lot more at risk. Meanwhile, once a client has a Medicare supplement and actually keeps their traditional Medicare, so the supplement is added onto it, that's really how it works for those of you that are kind of new to this, they're guaranteed not to go out of pocket. So really, the nice thing is, let's say a worst case scenario, they end up in the hospital multiple times. There's no out-of-pocket expenses for the client that's on the traditional Medicare. But when you're on Medicare Advantage, there are maximum out-of-pocket costs and risks involved. So, real quick, Medicare Advantage, no out-of-pocket cost monthly, but you do pay these little costs, to go to the doctor, and potentially if you end up in the hospital, there are more costs. With your supplement, it's the opposite. You pay whatever the cost of the supplement. Like I said, when you're new to Medicare, they're usually around $150 or so. Could be a little less, could be more, but that's it. You're paying that monthly, and that's all you got to worry about, period. So let's talk a little bit about cross-selling. Now, as a final expense agent, a life insurance agent, the one thing that I realized a long time ago, like when I first started selling final expense over 10 years ago, was that I was sitting in front of the same people that would buy Medicare Advantage and Medicare supplements, mainly Medicare Advantage because they're low-income seniors. And so it only makes sense if you sell both. But let me just say this, like if you're brand new to insurance sales, right? And you're trying to figure out which one to do, or if I should do both, and that's an important question. In my opinion, start with the life insurance, start with the final expense, build the book of business, get good at selling final expense, and then go with the Medicare. Really, the way I always equate the two, learning and everything that's involved, when it comes to final expense, that's kind of like high school. Most people can get through it, right? When it comes to selling Medicare Advantage and Medicare products, that to me, the only way for me to describe it, it's like going to college for 2 different degrees at the same time, to be a lawyer and a doctor at the same time. I mean, it's complex. There's a lot more involved. That's why, and that's one reason why I don't suggest starting there. I suggest starting with the life insurance, the final expense, and then once you get good at that and you build your book of business, then you go to the Medicare, because now you got clients to cross-sell. Think about it. How hard is it to sell your life insurance client that you've known for potentially years, right? Depending on how hard is it to cross-sell them the Medicare Advantage plan when the Medicare Advantage plan has a 0 monthly premium and they already know you because they're paying through their life insurance through you. It's very simple in most cases. If you've done your job, you've built value, you've built rapport, they know who you are, they trust you, so it's really just an easy, okay, let's do this too. All right, so let's talk about the selling part, right? Really, the how to sell Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements, it's very complex. I definitely think you have to do your research. There's a lot of research involved. You have to have a good upline who's there to answer your questions. Really, that's going to be super important. But first of all, let's say you've gotten it. You're just starting, right? You've gotten the AHIP done. You've gotten approved by the carriers, and you got to do that every year, by the way, to sell Medicare products, Medicare Advantage. And so you've done all this stuff and you're getting ready to sell. You have to first accept that you're only really going to be able to sell maybe half, maybe 2/3 of the people that you meet with. So understand, the reason being is because if you're doing it the right way, if you're doing it the ethical way, if you're doing what we do, my wife and I do, you are not going to be able to switch most of these clients out, or maybe only half of them. And the reason you're not going to be able to switch them out is because they've already got a plan that darn well is better for them, or that they're better off having. And that's the thing. So you can't try to sell everybody. It just doesn't make sense, because you could inadvertently hurt them. I mean, the worst case scenario is you get them into a plan where, let's say, here, I'll give you one example. Let's say you got someone who goes to the hospital a lot, right? They're going to have some out-of-pocket costs at the end of the year. And you move them to a plan that has a lot more potential debt. In other words, they could end up having to pay more out of pocket because you moved them to that plan. Another thing we see a lot is the doctors. A lot of these clients, they really like their doctor. They've been with different doctors and they found a doctor that they really like. In a lot of cases, the new plan, the plan that you're thinking maybe could do better for them, they're going to lose that doctor, and they're not willing to lose that relationship. And if they do lose the relationship, if you do switch them anyway, they're just going to end up switching back. I mean, I hate to say it, that really is the bottom line. So you really got to put the needs of your clients first before anything else. Number 2, you really do have to educate your client. And that's part of the sales process. You're not selling anybody the right way if you're not educating them. You really need to go over the difference between, first of all, Medicare Advantage, right, and the Medicare supplements and the costs involved. Because there's times when your client will have, and I've seen this before, where they've had a Medicare Advantage plan and it just made sense for them to switch back to traditional Medicare and get the Medicare supplement. But I've also seen scenarios, and it's very rare, but I have seen it a couple times, where the client had the supplement and it's just they were paying so much and it just didn't make sense. They were paying so much for the supplement because maybe they've switched a couple times or they're older, where it just made sense for them to go to the Medicare Advantage plan. I had a client who, if I remember correctly, they were in super health. They went to the doctor once a year. That was pretty much it. And the cost was hundreds of dollars. It was like $500 or $600 to keep that Medicare supplement each month. So it just didn't make sense, especially when we were able to find a Medicare Advantage plan where their doctors were actually taken with that Medicare Advantage plan. So it was like a win-win. You don't see a lot of those, but you will see those every now and then. Third thing about selling Medicare Advantage and Medicare supplements, when you get in front of that client that, like I said, it doesn't make sense to switch, you might be able to help them later. So it's really important to keep in contact with them and to potentially be prepared to even meet with them again later. Like, especially there's going to be times where maybe it does make sense to make the move, but you're not in open enrollment or annual enrollment, and it's not a time of the year where you can actually switch from one plan to the next. So you got to be really good at keeping contact with that prospect, with that client, and communicating with them so that when the time comes, you can easily make the switch and not get there and find out that they already did it with somebody else. Hopefully you guys got something out of the video. If you'd like a copy of both the Medicare enrollment cheat sheet and the Medigap comparison chart, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. If you'd like more information on working with us, whether it's selling Medicare Advantage face-to-face or selling final expense either face-to-face or doing telesales, we've got a killer appointments platform. Just shoot me an email at that same address. As always, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. So get on out there, and whatever happens today, just make sure that you do something good for someone else today. Happy hunting.